Good morning. Welcome to this session of ours. My name is Njuguna Waitara, and I'm thrilled to be your host. Is it host or the presenter for today? I'll start by giving context of why I'm here, based on the experiences that I've had in my career. And I'll start by a story which happened in 2018. In 2018, I was doing some work for a client of mine. And as I was doing his work, he mentioned to me that his son had some form of behavioral changes. He was spending a lot of time in his room from someone who was very extroverted, and the change happened, and he tried to understand what could have happened. So he'd spend a lot of his time in his room, spend a lot of time on his gadgets. He does not want to interact with his peers as he used to. And so the father of this boy asked me whether there's something I could put in his house so that he could see what his son was doing on the internet. I told him, yes, I have a solution, and I told him how much it would cost. But we never actually got to do anything because we were so busy with our lives. I was busy trying to make him pay me for his work so that I can live. We never got to do anything because he's also a very busy man. Unfortunately, his son committed suicide. And tragically, when we went to see and when we looked at the history of his computer and all that, we found out that his son committed suicide because of cyberbullying, because of his weight. Now, you can imagine as a parent, and also for myself, we had a number of questions. And one of our biggest questions that we've never been able to answer, because the guy is normal: what if we had only done what we needed to do at the point we discussed? Who am I? As I said, my name is Njuguna Waitara. I'm a graduate from Jomo Kenyatta University. I graduated many years ago. Don't be fooled by I have a lot of white hair, but I do what I need to do so that it's not seen. When I took this photo, I was surprised when they gave it to me, because this is, they did a lot of kilema wakatoa, but it was for the purpose of preparation for this. I laughed at myself, who you see me, lakini, that's a story for another day. I run an IT company that designs, implements, and deploys IT infrastructure for small businesses and also for corporations. I have, let me say, a good number of experience in my field, because I deploy security stacks for companies. And so what a security stack is that when I come into your business, I'll tell you this is what you need to do so that you do not have threats coming from outside through the internet that can threaten your business. And now, the reason why I'm good at this, by the way, is because I was one of those people who used to threaten businesses before. And I was quite good at it. So I was quite good at it. So I know what the loopholes are when people are trying to come into the businesses. And that's why I say I have good experience as the perpetrator and as the watchman. Yeah. What we'll be discussing about, what we'll be discussing about, let me just prepare here. What we'll be discussing about today is very important. And because we are living in a different world, the world that we grew in is very different from the world that is there. And especially if you're that parent who you're that parent who experienced when the internet was just beginning, you might not really have an understanding of what is really going on. Because for you, your interaction with the internet is sending Yahoo. If you have a Yahoo email, you're that parent I'm talking about. Not Gmail. If you have Yahoo, you're that parent, something like Christine, 2001 at Yahoo. You're that parent I'm talking about. But our children are facing threats that we are not able to comprehend. And these threats are quite substantial. We will be discussing the latest trends that our children, the latest trends and the technologies that are being used by companies to hook our children into these problematic areas that are found in the internet. We'll cover a wide range of topics that include online privacy, cyberbullying, digital addiction, harmful content that is designed to desensitize our children and ourselves as adults. Because even as I am talking to us as parents, especially even for myself, I'm talking to myself. Because some of these things that I'm talking, I'm repeating what Anthony says. As he's preaching to himself. So I'm also telling myself that some of the things that I see in other homes could also happen to me. And prevention is always better than cure. You don't want to deal with an issue that could have been arrested before it even started. By having knowledge. So I believe that this conference or this seminar will help us to understand the challenges and opportunities in promoting online safety for our children. It will equip us with practical strategies in resources, and it will equip us with practical strategies and the resources that I'm able to give within the time that I've given to safeguard our children's online experiences. I'll start by asking why, just by a show of hands, why you decided to come. I'll start with the ones that I know. Kathy.
I have teenagers and I feel that they know more than I do. I can't keep up with technology. I don't think I am slow, but I just need to be equipped a little bit more so that at least when I'm talking to them, they're talking from a point of understanding.
Okay. And I thought you'll say it's because you know me, you wanted to support me, but but that's a valid answer. I'm glad that's the answer that you've given. So yeah, I think most of us, that's the reason why you're here, because you have young men, and I'll repeat men and young men, because based on my experience, those are the ones that I was also a young man. So based on my experience, I think that's where the challenge is mostly when it comes to teenagers, young men, but also girls have their own issues that we'll be talking about. And some of the issues, just to highlight, to preempt what we'll be talking about, you've had this issue of nudes. You know what nudes are? Nudes are not usually sent by boys. They're usually sent by girls. So we'd like to understand, someone doesn't understand what nudes are. Well, that's good. But that is a problem that is usually more geared towards girls. And based on some of the numbers that we see, it happens even from as early as the age of 9 in Kenya. Yeah. So what will we be talking about? We'll be talking about exposure to inappropriate content. I'll explain what that is. We'll be talking about cyberbullying and what cyberstalking is. We'll talk about internet addiction. And I'll talk mostly and concentrate on the things that I have experienced in my career, because there are other things that I'm not able to talk much about because maybe they're not localized to our environment. The problems that we have in my space and in this country might be a little bit different from problems that are experienced in other countries. All all this is common to all countries, but there are some that I've seen that are more common than others. Privacy and security, I'll mention a bit about that. Not a big issue here. Exposure to hate speech, that one is for adults. Yeah, hate speech, we as adults are the ones that teach our children how to be very aggressive and hateful on social media, and they learn that from us. I'll talk about desensitization. This is a big issue. And desensitization is where your child is stimulated to such negative content for such a long time until whatever it is they're exposed to becomes normal. And that is pornography, violence. Low quality, I'll talk about what low quality social interactions as an indicator of where we're having as one of the areas that can be used as an indicator of a child who's suffering with some of these issues, and of course, reduced physical activity. Now, low social quality interactions and reduced physical activity are more of the psychological part, and I'm hoping I'll get some help from someone who's more experienced with children, who's here, who has been sent by the Communications Authority. What do the numbers say? What are the statistics like? So I'll just read them. Kenya was listed as one of the top 10 countries hosting web pages containing child sexual abuse material. And the source of this is Internet Watch Foundation, a UK-based charity that combats sexual abuse imagery online. You will find these things online. You can actually read them as references because they have much more material. Kenya, top 10. Now, one of the questions that you ask yourself, if someone is, let's say, 13 years, they most probably use a phone. Who gave them that phone? The parents. So parents are really the people who are enablers of some of this, and it could be unknowingly, by the way, because you're innocent you want to give your child to watch YouTube Kids. It's unregulated. You have no experience on how to pin apps, and which I'll show you, and which I will show you, which is one of the areas that, as I was doing research on this, I realized most parents have an idea, but they do not know how to do it. And I'll be showing you how to do some of these things. The second point is, a 2021 report indicates that 67% of children aged 12 to 17 in Kenya use the internet. A sample of internet using children from across the country showed that 7% of them had received money or gifts for sharing sexual images or videos of themselves, while 3% had been coerced or threatened online to participate in sexual activities. Child Online, that is a source, which is on the internet, and you can have a look at that. So what does that mean? That sending naked images of yourself is a thing that happens. Who could, for a monetary gift? Can you imagine? Let me say at our ages, can you imagine when you were growing up, if my mom or father, okay, first it was unfathomable. I mean, you can't even think about it. It was so far removed that you could even be naked in front of your brother, leave alone now in front of a phone. So you can imagine now someone has taken a phone, taken a picture of himself naked, sent it to someone for them to receive money before they are even 18 years of age. In Kenya, there are almost no gender differences in children's experiences, according to a report on the Interpol website. Boys and girls are both subjected to this crime. So, with the rise of homosexuality, the queer, and the alphabet guys, let me use that word, we have seen boys being targeted by these groups, yeah, and the statistics, which I don't want to dwell on, are quite sad. And it's now, and even on the demographic, it is on the boys' part, it is the upper class children who are more exposed to this homosexuality kind of issue. Then there's an increased demand for violent there's an increased demand for violent material and prepubescent children in online child sexual exploitation and abuse and child sexual abuse material globally. So when we talk about violent material, I don't know whether someone can be able to explain what that means, or maybe you don't have an understanding. So one of the categories I see is I'm doing my work as a security person, as an IT person. You know, when you're in the internet, when you're in the office doing your things, we can see what you're doing. Please know that. And if I'm idle, I'll even now spend more time on looking at what Pastor Olunga is doing. Na pasi. Hey, manzi. Hi. Na asubuhi ananiambia Bwana asifiwe. You know, but mi naona zile vitu anaona, and I'm telling you there's a category called BSDM. BSDM is a category in that indecent and inappropriate, where someone is beaten, they are tied with handcuffs, you're whipped. I don't understand what that is, but it is actually very common. And now, from this research we are seeing, it is not even just adults who are being whipped. It is children. For, I don't know what kind of excitement. I mean, 10 years ago, these were things that were unfathomable. And you couldn't even, not even 10, let me say 15 years ago. I mean, these are things that you could not even think about. But now this is happening in this country. For you, maybe you're far removed from this, and you believe that your child cannot be part of this statistic, but you never know. So it is better to prevent your child from being part of this statistic. Even if you raise them well, you just do whatever you can in addition to prayer and raising your children well. Use technology to prevent your children from being part of this statistic. There's also this one, a 2021 survey of parents in the United States by that organization found that parents believe that at least some of their children are safe online, but only 45% monitor what their child do online. Now, let me ask, how many parents monitor what their children do online effectively? Here. I want to ask, let me ask, monitoring. You need to see what your children are browsing online. You need to see your children's YouTube history. You need to allocate them screen time. When their screen time is over, it's over. You need to know what they are doing on social media. And I'll talk about social media. And the people they are communicating to. In fact, your child cannot accept a friend that you don't know as a parent. How many are doing that? Okay. What tool? You have a tool you're using? Okay. All right. Tool? So you do it manually. Okay. Manually. Okay. So, if you have a son like Kathy's, manual will not work. Yeah. Manual, those guys are so smart. Manual will not work. Looking at YouTube history, it can be deleted. Looking at browser history, it can be deleted. So, you want to prevent them from even going there to delete, you know? And so the truth of the matter is that you need to be able to have knowledge of tools. Some of them are even free. You know, some of the reasons why people shy away from these tools is because when you do a Google search, what comes are tools that you need to buy. And some of them are actually quite expensive, so you're discouraged. There's some tools that I'll be showing and I'll be talking to you about that are free. But the best ones are paid. Yeah. There's nothing good that is for free, but they work. I use them for in my own house, but the best ones are paid for. We'll talk about cyberbullying. I have been a perpetrator of cyberbullying myself. And I'll give you the history of how this happened. Now, as I was growing up, because of my size, I've always been the smallest in my group of friends. And so, because of being bullied, I tended to become a very aggressive person, and especially after, when I was in standard 6, there's a guy who used to take my break every day. Can you imagine? I'm packed for juice and a sandwich. I'd take half of the juice, he takes, and then my sandwich, because it's cut into two, he'd take half of that sandwich until I got to standard 8. I couldn't tell my parents because the guy would, can you imagine? And I was not the only one, by the way. He used to do it. So in our school, we had around 17 boys. That guy was even obese because he used to eat all. I mean, and he used to finish. It was the most amazing thing for me. And then when I went to Form 1, we were selected to go to the same school with that guy. What were the odds? So I said, enough is enough. I will not be bullied by him or any other person for the rest of my life. And that is where I had a personality change, because I used to be a very shy person. I used to even stoop. But when I went to Form 1, I knew it's either I change or these guys kill me. I was so aggressive. I was the worst bully. I bullied a Form 4 when I was in Form 1 till he cried and went to the headmaster. And I'm in Form 1. You can imagine. So that is, I went Form 2, I was such a bad bully. I went Form 3, I was such a bad bully. In Form 4, I was the worst bully. So as I went through my life, campus, I'd bully guys bigger than me. And they're wondering, how is this guy so confident to talk to me? So they'd assume maybe I have a rich parent, or my parent is a policeman. And I took this to my adult life. Now, in my adult life, where I bullied people the most is in social media. I was such a bully on social media, I used to be paid by people to bully, as a job, as a blogger, as that type of, it was a job I was being paid. Anthony knows, Olunga knows. And I was very sharp. My written skill is above average. So, I mean, now God has a funny way of working. Then I got children. And some of my children have been bullied. And I'm like, why would you bully my child? Oh, why would you bully my children? And you know, so, and then it just plays back. Young man, you are paying for your sins. And some of the people that bully online would even inbox me and ask me, why would you tell me? You know, it stings most when you're bullied physically. Body shaming and stuff like that, telling someone is short. I know I'm short, but I don't like being told I'm short. You know, unless it's Olus telling me this, but there's always someone who doesn't know me. And you tell me, I mean, it feels very bad. I'm still a human being, but my way of reacting to that is to be very aggressive. There are people who it affects. Not everyone is like me. And so, cyberbullying is a big problem. And like the story I gave, can you imagine that boy committed suicide because he had been shamed because of his size? When the dad tries to recollect, his son used to tell him, there are guys, my friends in school, who are saying X about me, and I don't know what to do. The parent is like, wacha hiyo mambo yako, because actually the dad was significantly older. He got him when he was significantly older. He does not understand. Ati wanakwambia aje wapi? Kwa social media. Social media ndiyo gani hiyo? You know, he does not understand what that is. His son committed suicide. And by the way, the effect of that, he was the only son. That man has never been the same to date. Fortunately, he had secured resources for a long time, stopped going to work, closed his office. I remember him telling me, I was working so hard for my son to inherit this. There is no more child. Something maybe he could have prevented. So he doesn't, he's lost hope with life. So cyberbullying is a form of bullying. You can read that. It's a form of bullying that occurs online through social media, messaging app, forums, or other digital platforms. And it involves the use of technology to harass, humiliate, threaten, intimidate someone, often repeatedly over a period of time. I'm sure someone here has been a victim of a cyberbullying. Someone who practices cyberbullying, especially if you identify with a certain political side. Anyone who's been bullied on the cyberspace? Okay. Interesting. Oh, you have. Yeah. And did it make you feel, even if you don't know the person on the other side, did it make you feel bad? Yeah. It does. As much as you say that mimi roho yangu ni ngumu, you're still human. It still feels bad. At least when we were growing up, the people who used to be bullied by someone we can see. But nowadays, you do not need to know them, you do not need to see them, and they can cause a significant amount of emotional and psychological pain. And also the bullying then was for a limited period of time. Mine was, my break was 30 minutes, so my bullying was 15 minutes, and I'm over and done with that. Cyberbullying is not just a problem for young people, it is also a problem for us as older people. But remember, children and young men are very brutal. If you see how children treat other children, and even the words that come from their mouth, they are very unpleasant. So even when now it's on an online space where they can somehow be anonymous and they can't suffer consequences, they're even worse. I'll give you some examples of, cases of bullying in the US that have been there. There's the Megan Meyer case. And so this is a very bizarre case. So there's this lady called Megan. And because she's spending a lot of time on her computer and all that, the mother decides to prank her by creating a fake profile of a guy called Josh. And that guy called Josh befriends the daughter and they have those lovey-dovey conversations. But this Josh is the mother. And then Josh decides to, let me say this for lack of a better word, dump Megan. But in actual sense, it's a mother who's talking to the daughter. The daughter could not be able to take the rejection, and she committed suicide. That's a very sad story. You can imagine how the mother feels about that. Because by the time she was doing the dumping, maybe in the next bedroom, and by the time she was getting to where the daughter was, and then she had already taken her life. That's a permanent consequence that is irreversible. Then there's another guy called Ryan Halligan. This one is just normal standard cases of cyberbullying. People created profiles about him. They create profiles that say lies about him. He was targeted by his friends and they say very negative things about him. And he could not take it anymore because his mental health was absolutely affected and he took his own life. Now, I'm using these extreme cases so that I am able to illustrate the consequences of cyberbullying. The consequences of cyberbullying are actually even worse for ladies than for men. But it's still, it's still a very bad feeling for you, but it's worse for ladies, and especially when you attack them when it comes to their appearances, their background, and that's the easiest place that men, when they're cyberbullying ladies online, use about their appearances and all that. So what are the effects of cyberbullying? Depression and anxiety. I think that's self-explanatory. There's low self-esteem. There is social isolation. You'd rather just stay on your own than having to experience this. And these are some of the signs that you can look in your children. If you see a behavioral change that is not explained by maybe becoming a teenager or because, you know, even if a teenager likes being isolated, they want to hang out with their friends. What they don't want to do is to hang out with you as a parent, but they want to hang out with someone. They want to be able to have a peer group. There's academic difficulties. Now, this one I'm not able to mention much about, because you see, if nowadays I understand children are gifted differently. So a child could be having difficulties from the word go, and it's because our curriculum concentrates on academic giftings and intelligence, but there are many types of intelligence, but this is just one of the things. If your child has been doing very well in school and all of a sudden there's a change, then you realize, then you need to investigate. Then there's physical symptoms, where you have symptoms of headaches, stomach aches, and trouble sleeping. So these are the same symptoms adults feel when they are having financial problems. Pressure. So that symptom, I know it very well. When I'm having financial challenges, I feel stomach ache, headache, and I have trouble sleeping. My wife knows. She's at the back there, Grace. She's just coming. So she usually tells me, hey, boss, Dikubaya, namwambia sana. So anyway, then there's self-harm and suicidal ideation. Even if they do not commit suicide, if you look at their internet history, you'll start seeing content that tends to be within the spectrum of thinking about suicide, how to commit suicide, or how do people commit suicide without pain. And by the way, that is a very, you know, the challenge that you're facing in our generation as parents is mental health issues. Yeah, and so those are some of the things that you need to be very alert on. And internet history and what your children are doing online are very good indicators of what your child is going through, even if they're not talking directly to you. You're able to know this is the space where my child is because of what they're browsing, and you can be able to address it. So how do we as parents prevent cyberbullying? We educate our children about it. Let's talk about it and be brutal and tell them the real truth of what cyberbullying is, because they could be the perpetrators. They need to understand the effects of them doing it to someone. They also need to be educated when someone is being bullied online. They need to tell you as a parent, or if it's happening to them. You need to educate them and tell them, if this happens, or if someone sends you a message of this type on whatever platform, you need to tell me. Monitoring online activity. Keep an eye on the social media accounts and online activities, and make sure they're not engaging or experiencing cyberbullying. And that's where the tools I'm talking about come into play. You see, the difference between then and now, when we were growing up, what was the biggest issue that our parents had with was TV. And their monitoring ilikuwa kuguza TV hapa nyuma, you know. That, but even kama iko moto, wacha niseme kwetu. Alikuwa nakuja naguza TV, and then since no one will say who was watching, we are beaten all of us, you know. So now, what that beating all of us, what it used to have an effect. If someone switches on the TV, now me I was a chatterbox. If I'm threatened with a kiboko, I'd tell my, don't even beat me. Let me tell you what happened. These guys, you know, yeah, I mean, those are the controls that we had. But remember, even then, the content, TV used to start at 4 o'clock, you know, and then bad content at the time used to start after the 9 o'clock news. And the worst program then, let me say, when I was growing up, was Bold and the Beautiful. That was the worst. I mean, let me tell you, if you compare what's happening, if you compare Bold and the Beautiful and today, Bold and the Beautiful is even, is very beautiful. I mean, I think even us as adults, we've become so desensitized. I mean, really Bold and the Beautiful is not, it's not too bad in comparison to what our children at the age of 11 are interacting with. Then, of course, you have to teach your child how to protect their personal information. The reason why your child would be bullied is because they have already exposed themselves. So it is better that they are not exposed so that they are not bullied by anyone. And then you'll establish guidelines for internet use. And then I said encourage your child, establish guidelines for internet use. I'll talk about that in the tools that we're talking about. Then there's encourage your child to speak up and keep talking to them. So if you're not able to talk to them, you can enforce using technology. Because I don't have teenagers yet, but I think there's a place where teenagers reach, because I was also a teenager, and I just don't want to talk to my parents. And then also, I'm also that parent. Most conversations is, how are you doing in school? Why did you not read your question? You know, I detested that parent when I was growing up, but I've also become that parent. And without this kind of information and knowledge, I'll end up being that parent whom my children will struggle to talk to. So in short, actually, what I'm saying, we must teach our children to be good digital citizens. And a good digital citizen is a child who is responsible and respectful and will stand up to cyberbullying. I want to know whether there's a question up to that point.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, is there like a minimum age that as a parent you know your child should not be online? Like online my question is there like a minimum age at which you can allow a child to be online? And by that I mean to have like a social media account, to have, because I've seen, maybe this is for the socialites and for public people who, as soon as the child is born, they have a social media profile and so on.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, where is there like a guideline, like a cutoff, like below this age, it's not recommended?
I'll give you an example. All these CEOs who own tech companies, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, their children have no access to internet until they're 18. You guys know that, yeah? Yeah, their kids do not have access to unrestricted, they don't have access to gadgets, let me say that, until they are 18 years of age. Why? It is because they know the effect and the exposure of what this internet does. How can it be all of them? What do they know that we don't know? Bill Gates, his own children, the daughter, interacted with the technologies the dad develops and design at the age of, actually it was 19. Why? And so, you see, technology and this, it could not, maybe it's not by design, but it has happened that when you expose your children too early to certain parts of this technology, not all, because it's important for education. We must remember that internet has made education easier for even us as parents. By the way, my kids ask me some questions when they're doing homework. Me, I have to Google, because I forgot how to do even 20 times 20, because I use a calculator. Actually it is very hard. So even I think I was banned from doing homework, because one time my wife gave me the responsibility. When she came, she found the mess I was doing. She told me, please, kama sijafika, wachana nayo. And so anyway, internet is important, but you have to regulate. I do not have a cutoff age, but I'll say, let me finish. I'll say what in our house we have agreed. Our children will get their own phones maybe at around the age of 16, 17. Not earlier, maybe even later, you know. And in the group that we are in, as even parents, because we are homeschoolers, we have agreed that we do not want our children to have access to these gadgets. So, yep.
The one I think the question we need to answer when talking about age limit is, what is the use of social media? And is there use for it for a child who's not 18 yet? What benefit does it give to my child at 11, 12, 13? If there is no benefit, education, information, or otherwise that is contributing to building the child up, then I think the age limit is at whatever point the child is able to discern for themselves what they use, what are the benefits of the social media. And I personally, again, I agree with those who say 18 or 19.
Okay, I also ask that because there are children, I don't have teenagers yet, but I know there are children who, age 13, 14, who are being bullied for not having a phone and for not being on social media. So I'm just trying to figure out if I'm a parent with a 12, 13-year-old who's undergoing that kind of bullying, just how to deal with it.
Wow.
I'll give an example of myself growing up. So since our house, Bold and the Beautiful, was demonic, but my parents used to watch it when we have gone to sleep. So when I go to school in the morning, I could not have peace because I have no content. I have no content. These guys are talking. I think that time there used to be something like No One But You. Was there something like that? I had no content. So I'd stay and I'd really feel bad. And then even my friends would ask me, "Ay manzi, kwani kwenu hamnanga TV?" You know, of course, I feel so bad that we have a TV, but it was only for joy bringers. And I understand. I understand where you're coming from. And I do not have an answer to that.
Anybody who has an idea?
I don't know whether maybe you can help me on that one.
Okay, I would treat it as bullying. For example, if a child is being bullied at school for not having a social media account or for not having some interactions with the social media, then at that level it is just bullying. But as he said earlier, for these children, if you are interacting with these children, the best practice would be engage these children in why probably they are not on this social media as their counterparts. The things probably that are good in having this social media and the things that probably may harm them for engaging with these platforms. Now, it is very tricky for most of us parents who are parenting children, whether our own or by whatever way. Just by the fact that you can put some measures in your own environment, yet there's another child, another parent somewhere who is not putting the same measures. So it means either your child will have gotten some access to some information. At your own personal space, you have given all the controls, but your child is still accessing this information. So engaging these children in a talk, for me, is the best way to go. Yes.
Yeah, and that's why in my presentation you'll see I keep repeating, talk to your children, talk to your children. I know sometimes it's hard because we are so busy, then by the time you realize it's an issue, time has moved, but you have to be deliberate on talking about this issue, because I'm sure you talk to your kids about other issues that you know. But because you do not have a good understanding of this, you decide to just leave it. Yeah?
So I'll share what works for me, and it's not necessarily in the social media or internet space, But with music, I am very keen on the kind of music I listen to and the kind of music I expose my children to. So I noticed at some point they'd be like, "Oh, mom, how come we don't know this music?" Because when they go to school, everyone is singing this kind of music, but they don't know it. So at some point, my son actually asked me, "How come we're always just listening to worship music? Like I listen mainly to Christian music." So I explain to them, I explain the power of music, the power of what we listen to, and how it affects us. Now, I noticed from parenting, what I've realized with children is we need to have conversations with them. You need to explain the why, not just, sometimes I just want to say, well, because I'm your mother, so I have said this. That will easily make them want to go and test. I have told them that for social media accounts, for example, we will start having that conversation. Not they will get accounts. We will start having that conversation probably when they are 16. So we will have the conversation, but that does not mean you will get accounts. And I've realized they understand. My son recently joined boarding school, and I thought I have been a very strict parent, to be honest. And he came back and he's like, "Mom, you are it." Like, he understands. He's actually like, the direction we are taking is working out. So constantly having conversations with them. Mm-hmm. We can't raise the children that we have right now like how we were raised, where a parent has said, "This is it," and you don't question. We have to explain the reason behind that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's...
Maybe I can add a point. I am not a parent to someone that is that old, but yes, I am a parent, but I am that person that your children have trusted. And they have told me things that some I can tell you, others I'll never tell you. So I think, for their safety and security, like I promise them not to. But thing is, I think you should have people you trust that your children think are cool enough. Because right now, the funniest thing, maybe I may be cool to Myron, but imagine I'm not cool to my niece. You know how much that hurts me. So I have, for me to just realize that, realize that early, so that I know that I may be cool enough for someone else, but I'm not cool enough for my own son. I won't be cool for him. So do I have people that I trust that are closer to, maybe they are closer to him, that they can model these things? Because I have heard the social media talk. I have heard there are things that your children will do, and they have pseudo accounts, and when you're doing the physical monitoring, unaangalia ile yenye wewe unajua, but they have maybe 3 or 4 other profiles that they can only talk with people they feel safe around. Mm-hmm. So even like they will have those. They'll be smarter than us. So do you have people around them that they can trust enough to tell them these things, and they are able to guide them? Because I believe children will be smarter than us. Tutafanya hizi vitu and they'll still circumvent. So
correct.
That's my two.
So, in short, let your kids have cool, responsible role models. Yeah, I think that's a valid approach to that particular issue. And by the coolness cannot be the parent. Can you be a cool parent and a parent? No, I don't think it's possible. Yeah. By the way, he's a cool cool uncle. So the next one, I think I'll move a little bit faster so that we can get to the practicals. Most of these things are maybe something you've interacted with, you might have an idea about. So I'll move a little bit faster so that you can go to the how. All right? So there's exposure to inappropriate content. We must acknowledge this is not only a problem for teenagers. Yes. Hata wazazi wako na shida kubwa hapa. Na nimewaambia sisi, please, tunaonanga. We see what you're doing on the office Wi-Fi. Men, please, jaribu kuondokea hii shida. Do you know, okay, let me move faster, but I must give this story. So there's this guy, a place where I work, one of my clients, the guy would reach at 7 and leave at 9. Hey, tunashindwa, this guy, by the way, he really works hard. What is this guy working hard? And I'm not saying because of the position he was in, but his position did not require him to come at that time. So of course, I told you, IT guys, when they're idle, what they do is to snoop. 9 out of 10 times, by the way. When we are finished our work, maintaining servers, making antivirus is fine, then we are like, nah, by the way, Mike wanadu nini? That is what they do. And we look very busy in server rooms, but inakuanga ni. So anyway, when I went to this guy's history, nini na huwa inakuleta hapa mapema hivi. Hey, he is there to make sure he does his business before people come to the office. And then after people have left the office, anasema sijui reconciliation. Wapi? Hata alifunga Excel kitambo. Because you can also see applications that are open, by the way. Alifunga Excel at 4. He's watching that stuff. And then even used to watch it during the day. That's a person with a really big problem. So what would happen, if you walk into his office because his desk was facing, he'd be in such a bad mood. Amekasirika. What do you want? I was coming to inquire. So I noticed that trend. So naenda naangalia. Uliingia za ngapi? Saa 6. Okay, sawa. And I check. Saa 6 the guy was. So even things in the office were moving slowly because the guy was spending too much time on, and he's a manager. So generally, there are no restrictions on people with management roles in organizations. They don't have restrictions, or rather that is the trend. So anyway, one time I told him, and because he also wanted to fix me, kamwambia mimi najua venye unafanyanga. Mimi najua venye unafanyanga. Na hiyo kitu venye unataka kunifix. Ukinifix, na mimi nitakusema. So I had not done something I was supposed to do in time and it affected his. So I would have lost that client. So takusema, I'll say that you didn't do this particular thing. Kamwambia no problem. Tutachomeka sisi wote. So anyway, so fortunately, him knowing, men really hate being embarrassed, by the way. Yeah? Men don't like being busted. Do you know that guy stopped watching those things because he knew, I know, that he's watching them. So that was a wrong way to make him stop. I think he was very shocked. And he said, ninaonanga nini? I just removed from on a boss. Hizi vitu zote. Kwanza hizi vitu naona hata. Anyway. So it's a problem for us, for teenagers. And where do they learn this from? Their parents. And how do they get to learn this from their parents? Now, I'm in WhatsApp groups of people I was in high school and in university. You know the content that goes into those groups. And I need to be in that group because we still talk about our issues as former students. So I want to be there. And then you don't want to come out of that group because watasema mse hata ameanza kuwa na maringo. So because you give your child to your phone. So there's a chance that they'll interact with some of those videos and they'll not tell you. But they'll know under this WhatsApp, there's this group that has these types of videos. Wanaenda wanaona. That is now how it starts. You see, the parent did not do that willingly, but it has already happened. The exposure has already happened. So what kind of content children have access to the same devices that we have. Lack of parental supervision definitely increases the chance that your child will be exposed to this stuff. And then there's curiosity. My exposure to that particular area was also because I was curious. And this, for me, is when I'd started working, and I was in a lab. The person who used the computer before me had left the page open. And that is how my exposure happened. I was curious. You click, 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 4 hours are over. And you're hooked. Then, of course, there's poor filtering and monitoring. We need to be able to know how to do this, which I'll be teaching you. And then, of course, there's peer pressure. And then there's lack of awareness. Some of us parents just don't know. You think your children are just as good as you when you are a child. Yeah, the reality is that that might not be true. And because they're exposed to different things than you are. Then there's exposure to inappropriate, there's violent content, there is sexual content, there is hate speech, there's drug and alcohol, gambling content, there's self-harm and suicide content, and then there's, I've repeated drug and alcohol content. I meant to say gambling. So violent content is on the games that our children play. How many of you have bought your children PlayStations? You can, PlayStation, yeah? So I'm sure maybe you bought them FIFA. The normal games, football. I don't know whether they have Kati in PlayStation, I don't know. But then they get some other very violent games from their friends. Yeah? Sorry? GTA. I'll actually talk about GTA because I also played GTA. So, those games they play when you're not around are very violent. And a game like GTA, it's called Grand Theft Auto, teaches kids how to commit crime, how to run away from policemen, how to murder people, how to steal cars. It has even how to rape women. It is a PG-13. Tell me at 13 years old, that game is rated 13 in the US, and it teaches you how to rape. There's a place where you can rape women in the game. Now, you know how kids play games for a long time, a whole day. Then there's, of course, to sexual content, that is the pornography, and that is the normal thing that we're talking about. Then there's hate speech. Hate speech, they interact with that through us as parents because of the things that we talk when they are hearing, and then also the things that they see on social media. Then there's drug and alcohol and gambling content. Now, one of my clients' children had learned that he can create a very potent drug that makes them very high from jik, bleach. Where could he have learned that? That is the thing. By the time we were leaving Form 4, the only thing we knew is titration. And I'm sure most of you, that thing never changed color the way it was supposed. So there is no way you'd have ever known how to create a substance that you can abuse from anything. This kid, 12 years old, had learned how to make a thing that he can inhale using jik and I think other ingredients and stuff like that. You can only learn those things from the internet. So you need to know what is your child. That's why it's very important to know what your child is interacting with. The worst drug that you guys know is bangi. That is not even a drug anymore, guys. Bangi. That's nothing. These guys are taking stuff that is out of... I hear nowadays they have things called roofies. Ama zilikuanga? Roofies, there is LSD, there is... And they're manufacturing them in their own homes. You know? They learn those things from. Then I would also mention about self-harm and suicide. How can it happen? Exposure to sexual content, average age of exposure is about at 11 years. I'm sorry I didn't cite where I got this, but it must have been in those things, the research that I was reading. And a study found that over 50% of children aged between 11 and 16 who had seen sexual content had viewed it on their parents' smartphone or tablet. So, tujiangalie. The most common form and most harmful form of exposure tends to be this one, and it has more longer lasting effects. Exposure to inappropriate content, and it will affect, even as adult, your marriage, if your husband consumes porn, there are consequences that you will see. And even antisocial kind of behaviors inside the house. How can it happen? While searching for innocent terms. Now, internet marketers have sexualized everything. So if you're searching for how to clean a sufuria, you'll find a lady in a bikini cleaning a sufuria. Because sex sells. Tell me how those things are connected. These guys are amazing. How they connect these things. They are so creative to a point of almost being demonic. You know? So while they're clicking on ads, when you're browsing normal things, do you see ads that blink like this? Gambling. And once you click on that thing, it's designed in such a way that it will draw you to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. Then the social media, as they're interacting with social media has algorithms that tends to know the likes and dislikes of your children. And so what comes to their timeline, and even to your timeline, will be around the kind of things that you like or the things that you could like. For instance, if you are doing research on your computer about, let's say, something like homosexuality, research, you see, you're not even you're doing research. On your social media page, you'll start seeing things that tend to be more tolerant to the alphabet group of people, you know? So there are things on your browser called cookies. Cookies pick your internet behavior. And that is why when you buy a phone, what do they ask you to do? Sign into Google. When you're using Google Chrome, what do they ask you to do? Sign into Chrome. What are they doing? They're learning your behavior. Actually, Google is not an IT company. Google is an advertising company. They need to understand how you think for them to operate, to give you content that you want. And by the way, myself also, if you give me your phone, I can tell you where you've been going, location. Ulitoka hapa ukaenda Westlands, kutoka Westlands ukaenda, I can tell you for as long as you've had your phone. These Android phones, let me not talk about iOS, let me talk about Android. It records, like as we are talking, it opens the mic, it records what you're saying for advertising purposes. So utasema natafuta chapo. Utaenda kwa Instagram, utaona mtu anauza an advertisement ya chapo. You even think it is magical. So I'll see what you've been browsing, what you've been searching, your YouTube history. You don't know where that thing is, but it's there. But I can even tell you, when you go to Google, myactivity.google.com, every information that Google has about you is there. So you need to learn how. You go to your browser right now, utaona tu. So if you go to your browser, there's a place where you can disable those things. I don't know whether there's someone, an IT person in this room. Iko, do you agree with me? That is what is there. And it's not even Google, even Microsoft are doing it. Even all these, Facebook are doing it. They are picking data about you. Practical session number 1. What will we be looking at? We have 2 practical sessions. So the first one, I want to show you how to create supervised Google accounts for your children. Supervised accounts, Windows accounts for your children, so that you're able to see what they're browsing on their computers, what they're browsing on their phones, what they're browsing on the TV, because you need to log in on YouTube Kids or whatever. You need to log in with the children's account so that you can see what they're browsing. What their history is, yeah? And yes. Now, for social media, unfortunately, the free tools are not able to monitor that. the place where you can, the only way you can monitor social media is to know the number of times they've opened the application, how much time they spend. With these free tools, the amount of time they've spent on the application. But you cannot really know what they were doing. Now, the way I'm seeing parents raising their kids nowadays, I think maybe needs to change, where children don't have rights. Ukitaka kuwa na rights, wewe enda kwako. You know, I don't understand how you just open a social media page for your child and allow them to be on the phone the whole day. And then when you ask that child to give you back the phone, wakona, anasema wakona, amekuwa activist. You know, you need to, I don't want to talk very much because my kids are not teenagers. I know I could swallow my own words. Nimebuchapa, nimeaski. So let me not talk. But I think from my own observation, that thing needs to be discouraged as early as possible, that you do not have rights when it comes to gadgets in this house. I am the beginning and the end when it comes to gadgets. Like in my house, I even switch off internet from my phone. I don't need to consult. Yeah, no consultation. Nikiona sipati attention. Only that now my wife can afford bundles. But nikiona sipati attention. Anaweza jinunulia bundles. But nikiona nazima. Sasa, nani amenunulia mtoto yake iPhone? I need to understand how to address that parent. Or iPhone. I think you're in the wrong place, my brother. I think you're in the wrong forum. Anyway. Old phone. I have no content to address you. But I think you are for the... Anyway, since umepatia mtoto iPhone, wewe tutaenda too straight to the paid. This is a free. Cannot apply to you. Anyhow, so on Google, we have a tool called Family Link. Now with Family Link, I have added my child on this phone, which you can see there, this Nokia. And what I am able to do, and I'll show you, maybe I'll give you a brief overview of how you can run this. I can set up limits. And I am also, by the way, I'm just showing you this because I can see this on the computer, but my general interface for this would be the phone. Yeah? And how it looks on the phone, let me show you. If I open the Family. This is my phone. I'll show you how it looks. You see, so this is how the app would look on your phone if you installed it. Okay? So I have a child called Keshi. This is the gadget that she uses. So herself and the sister. So this is just for demonstration purposes. So what am I able to do with this phone first? I've been screaming in the house, zimeni hizo simu. Zimeni hizo simu, hawazimi. Sindio? So when I just press lock here, it will lock the phone. I'll show you, let me go to... So at a later, it will lock the phone. And, you see? That is the end. I don't need to keep screaming, shouting. Just stop. The advantage of these tools, you can enforce non-verbal communication. Yeah? And you can even automate this, where you say that, now let me go back to, so you understand what this is. So now if they need to do this, of course they will most probably know your password, yeah? So so what do parent access? you'll have your own password. A different password. And the reason it's asking for the parent password is because they know you'll not give your child your Gmail password. Unaweza taka kulegeza so okay fine, you want to give them your Gmail password, tuchomeke sisi wote. Most probably you'll not do that. So that's it. However, there's another way you can have a code which you can put. And now this code is generated, I think, every 24 hours. So you'd have to go to the app. It's a one-time password. You'd have to go and so that's the way it is. Now, if I want to unlock this same phone, I'll just unlock it. Oh, let me go back to. Okay, well, it will unlock. You see, it has already gone. So I don't need to have to ask my child to switch off the phone and stuff like that. If I'm also looking for the phone, because what happens, some kids hide the phone. Simu ilipotea. So now they cannot be able to disable this sound, that one. So even if it's on silent and all those kind of things, that one will still ring. So utatafuta tu. All right? Sorry? Location. Non-verbal communication is the key word. I have access to this on my mobile phone. This is hata sijuangi kuzima hiyo kitu, by the way. Oh, it's gone off. So this is the interface of the application. What you're seeing on this screen is my phone. Yeah? So you don't need to be in the same location. But even on top of that, sorry, please. As that opens. So this is the web interface. This is how it looks. I can be able to put limits. Okay? 3-hour limits on Monday, Tuesday, what? Of course, to me, I think the design of this thing must be an American. This is 1 hour. It should be 1 hour. Or 30 seconds. I mean 30 minutes. 3 hours, mukifanya nini? On the phone. So you, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, on your gadget, you have 1 hour. You can be able to change that. Or even on, so you can even like say, on, to say Saturday, Saturday, no limit. Well, not in my house. You put a limit. All right? The other control that you can have is on applications. All right? These are the applications that I installed on the phone. I haven't installed Facebook. So now, what if my child says they want to install Facebook? This is what happens. So let's go to Facebook. Install. What does it say? Ask your parent. Uliza mzazi. So depending on the children are very convincing, So it depends. If your child is very convincing, so they can send a message and you approve this from wherever you are, or you could do it, they could bring you the phone. And so once they've installed the application, then you can still regulate on this side, sir, nimekuwekea Facebook, but you can only use Facebook for 20 minutes in a day. Or whatever other application that you think is important. So they can't install applications on their devices without your knowledge. I'm addressing Android. I'm addressing Android-based parents. On iPhone. On iPads, it's a different one. It's a tool from Apple. I don't know whether this Google, or because you can't have a Google account on an iPhone. That's what I use. Oh, so even it restricts applications. And I said, I have no content to address. iPhone people. I want to stick to my lane, which is Android. So you can see, and even the location, you can be able to locate where the phone is at. So inasema, si unaona sasa hapa penye inasema, tuko hapa. Ime? Oh, sorry. So like even if they're in the school and whatever, unaona hapa inasema, this thing is in College of Insurance, where there's this circle. That's where that device, so even if it's stolen, you can be able to locate where that, yes. Does, you see, they cannot switch off the location. For me as a parent, I've said, location cannot be off on this phone. If you need to switch off location, ask your parent. So that's how I designed. Yes?
I have a question.
iPhone.
Well, I had the same.
I'm just kidding.
I had the same app,
Yeah.
and I used it for like 2 weeks. But now I'm looking at my phone, and here the gadget has been removed. So
Yeah, I'll address that.
the young man came and removed it or something.
I'll address that. So, as I said, the free devices, the free applications have loopholes, you know. So what your young man must have done, he formatted the phone. He's 7. 7. That guy is smarter than you when it comes to these things. No, 7. He already knows how to operate that gadget. So what he must have done, he must have done this and this, simu karudi, factory reset. And that's the end. Yake. So now your phone is not pinging the. That is how it has happened. Yeah. Now he did that thing to you. Alikufanya ile kitu. All right? But nitakuonesha, you remember the code that I was telling you about? So you see it expires in 38. Yeah. Sorry. You see it expires in 38 minutes. So it's a code that keeps regenerating itself. Yeah. All. Unless you have said your child can download applications that are free. But generally, all. You say that all applications are, yeah, okay. So now you can be able to add your child, and let me tell you the procedure. Maybe this you should write. When you have your own Gmail account, what you should do is to register an Gmail account that is for a child and attach it to your account. You understand what that means? Because if they open an account first, it becomes difficult to associate the two. So you as a parent should be the one to open for them that Gmail account even before they know how to do it. And you tell them, this is your device with your Gmail account, which is Keshi, like my children, keshiwaitara@gmail.com. You see now the advantage of also doing that is that will be their Gmail account for the rest of their, because now what happens with this Gmail family link, and as I said, it is designed by people who we have different values. It stops doing active monitoring at age 13. You can still monitor, but the tough restrictions wanaanza kulegeza from around the age of 13. Yeah, so that's why it says, do you have a child? Does your child have a Google account which you have created? You say yes, then you just put, it will send an email to them, which you will, and you accept, and that's it. They're attached to your family. Any question as far as this is concerned? Yeah? Any question? Anything to add on that one? Okay.
No, we were talking about how to block sites okay, you can choose the app. So I was asking him. Sorry, I was asking. We were having
Sites.
a mkutano.
You
Yes,
can.
we were having a side mkutano. So he was showing me how to block, because they can go to those sites still using Google.
No, you can block. I didn't
Yes.
show you
So
that.
now he was showing me how to block. So please show the rest.
So, on controls, yeah, sorry, I'm actually trying to rush. So, remember they're not allowed to add apps. But there are apps that come pre-installed on the phone, and one of the browsers is Chrome. So, on controls, when you come to content restrictions, you go to Chrome. So there are general categories. Allow all sites, try to block explicit sites, allow only approved sites. This is very restrictive, if you ask me. Yeah, I mean, they will not really be able to do anything. And you can do that if you don't want them to use a browser at all. But now we say block explicit sites. But remember, this is based on US, sio hapa. So what you'll realize is that, yes, you can block, but they still open betting. Now, since I know the betting sites, I'll be able to block them here. And I just need to add them here. So there's SportPesa, there's... Akijaribu kwenda kwa SportPesa, these were just examples. They are not able to do, and I can add as many websites that I'd want. Of course, to me, it's still very cumbersome, but remember, this is not a paid for solution. The paid ones are very easy to manage all these things from one interface. All right. Any other question? Yeah.
For them not
To uninstall. You can't with this one. If they know how to reset a phone using these two buttons here when the phone is starting. But now on the paid ones, you can prevent that from happening. Yeah, and I'll show you how to work on that one. So there's Google Photos. These are the things that you can block. When it comes to YouTube, disable autoplay. And the reason why you want to disable autoplay, I don't know whether you guys have experienced, mtoto anaona Peppa Pig. When they come back, the Peppa Pig that is being shown is not the one that you left. You know? So you want the child to be the one responsible for the next video that is going to be played, and you want to have already talked to them and explained to them why they should not. When a certain video has a certain type of content, they stop. So pause, stop. This one you cannot pause. You need to see what is happening. Yeah. You want to also be able to see. Hold on. I explained about the limits. Yeah. You can be able to put limits. Downtime means at night the phone is completely unusable. Okay. Parental access. There's something I wanted to show you. I'm sharing not this. You see, even the apps that they are putting, you will be able to see them here, because this one I recently put. I want to go to the other. I don't want you to interact with this, and just go to familylink.google.com. I'll give you my numbers. I can be able to help you on the phones. If you need me to come to where you are, I don't need to say no more. It will be at a cost. But no, not necessarily. If you find me here on Sunday, I'll be able to help you, because for me it is very simple. And what us technical guys sometimes struggle with, I know what to do, but there's usually a disconnection between, but I know what it is that I need to do for you. So when you give me your devices and all that, I'll be able to help you quickly. Another question? I want to go to the one that now you can control the PC, the computer. Let me just open here. Microsoft. So now this one, to control the PC. I've talked about controlling the phone. Then now, some of you guys have given your children computers. Is that correct? So I want to show you what you can do for the computers. Let me sign in. So the first thing that you need to be able to do when you're dealing with Windows PCs, this is a procedure. Open a Microsoft Family account, okay? Now, open a Microsoft Family account and then create a Microsoft account for your child. Are we together with that, on that? And then that is a procedure. Create yours first, create for your child, and let it be known that this is an account for a child, and associate the account. Okay? So this is, let me show you now then on the computer what you need to do. Can use this. Let me just pick this. Sorry, just give me. All right, so once you have created the account, and you'll have the list of your family, of anyone that you've added into your family. Sorry about that. Here, down here. All right, you'll have the list, and you can actually view your whole family. I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. I want to see Koi. What is her daily average? This one I just set up yesterday, so it might not have a lot of content. This is it, but on the PC, when you are setting up an account for them, you must create an account for them with the account that you create, the Microsoft account that you created. If you don't use that, you'll not be able to. And how you do that, I don't know whether I'm being clear. I'm on users. Oh, let me go to Neta. This one can't even do users. Let me go to the main account. All right, so once you log, you see when you're setting up a Windows PC, or the person who's setting up the PC for you, you need to give them your account as the parent of that house, so that once you've logged in as a parent, it will ask you, which other people do you want to add to this PC? Those people are what you'll have already created on this side. You see, like for instance, on my family, I have myself. I'm not allowed to sign in that machine, but I'll have to log in first so that I'm able to add my other child. And these are things that maybe I need to show you. So once I'm able to do that, I'm able to connect my device, whether it's a phone or PC to this particular portal. And what can I control? Screen time. I'll be able to see apps and games, their web searches. You see, like for instance, I can see what they have been searching. And if I'm not happy with a category, I'm able to just block it like immediately. I just click on this and it blocks. Now, once it has blocked, when I go to that particular PC and type Facebook, no internet, sorry, this has gone off. Sorry. Just 1 minute, yeah. So when I click on Facebook, okay, sorry, I have a number of tools. This is the next tool. So one of the tools that I use has kicked in. But ideally, it will tell you are not allowed to access that website. I'll be talking about this tool a little bit later. This is a paid tool that I'll talk about later. So your absolute history for your child, anything they browse, will be listed here. And you can block without having to talk to them on things that you think that are not. Activity monitoring has to be on. Screen time, this will give you an overview of how they have been using their screen time, and you have an understanding. On the PC, you can be able to have content filters, you see. So like now, this is an attempt that was blocked yesterday when I was setting this up. You can be able to see what they have been watching, all right? And you can review. Yeah. Spending is now if your kids are allowed to buy games and stuff like that. Any question? Yeah.
How did you set up the machine without the guest account? Okay, all our machines, I don't
Have a guest account?
Yeah.
No, you must disable.
Is it possible to set up a Microsoft account without the guest account?
100%. Yeah. You are able, in fact, guest accounts are totally discouraged because that's now where kids use to do whatever they need. There are some things that they can do with that guest account which you probably might not want them to do. So in my professional experience, I do not encourage guest accounts. Yeah. Another question? Have you understood somehow what this does? Remember, Family Link is for gadgets and devices. Microsoft Family is for Windows PCs. Again, I have no content to provide for what to a MacBook. But Zico, the paid ones. Nasema hapa on the free. Bure watu wa MacBook. Sina content to give, but uko kwa kulipia, the ones that one I have plenty. Yeah. I want to go to, unless there's another question, I want to move. Have you understood? You look like as if you have a question. So remember, guys, you can ask me, especially when you see me, or if you are struggling with something, just if I have time, I'll come to your home and help you. And I'll not charge you. But don't tell your friends. Only the faces that I'm seeing here. I want to take a photo with my phone. So ukiniita nakuuliza, wewe ni mgani hapa? So, yeah.
On smart TVs.
Yeah. There's a challenge, guys. On smart TVs, you have a challenge. No, you can't sell. The reason why I have this gadget here and I don't connect my TV is because I can control this. This is called an Android box. on smart TVs, we've been having challenges on even installing these programs that monitor what is happening. The simplest way and the easiest way is to log into your YouTube account with a child's account. But what about you?
Because the challenge I have
Yeah.
is, so there's the YouTube app on the TV, but I've put a password. Like kids can only access it when I'm there.
Okay,
But there's the internet, they can.
correct.
So when I get home from work, I'm seeing they are watching, and I'm like, you guys.
Smart kids.
Yeah, so.
So now there's the next level. You know, you go escalating. And I'll get to that. Now there's a firewall. Now what happens? Me in my house, I have a firewall. If I'm not there, only my wife can access internet. Full stop. If my kids want to access internet, they call me, inawafungulia internet. Now, they would, I don't know what would be, I've given you 2 hours to, you want me when I come home to be angry with what you've been watching, because nitafunga hii kitu forever. You know, that's how I do it. There's a time I'd even threatened, I'll remove the TV from the sitting room. Because I try to talk to them, and then I find them watching content that I don't think is appropriate for their age. So, remember, there's no solution that is foolproof, by the way. The more important thing than all these tools is to talk to your children. Yeah, these are actually just tools to help, but they are not the main thing. Another question? Yeah.
Okay, I have many questions.
Ask.
Mine is more on, so it could be out of this child online, but I noticed that you put your visa.
No, because I use this also for Office 365, OneDrive.
I get it. I just
Yeah.
wanted to say that I did that with mine. I was buying more space on Google. Then I saw my account had been
I have a solution for you.
lost like a lot of money from the bank, and I could have, okay, I learned that I could have used a credit card instead.
Let me show you.
Also,
Yeah.
my little man went and bought, he bought an app using his grandma's card. He was able to take a card from the handbag. He went online. He picked the
Number, yeah.
he actually bought like 3 apps. By the time she noticed, some money was missing from her.
Hiyo sasa inakuwa kiboko. Hapo hakuna tool. You know, that is physical warfare. That one, you know, because, and he's a boy, right? I saw and I understand him. So, because I was that child, I'm understanding him so well, yeah? You see that boy, you know that boy you're talking about? If Pastor Lunga were to tell you my stories, I so understand that boy because I was that boy. Totally. So now that one, for when it reaches to that point, now that one we just we need to clobber you. So I want to tell you on the credit card, guys, I don't know whether you know this, yeah? M-Pesa have a product called M-Pesa Global. Yeah? And what M-Pesa Global does, it gives you an ability to do transactions using M-Pesa, and once you're done with that transaction, you can switch it off. How many people don't know about M-Pesa Global? You don't know? Please don't use your credit cards on the internet. Let me tell you, I used to be. Just stop. Just stop it. If use M-Pesa Global. Now, credit card, debit card, just if you can avoid them, just use prepaid cards, which you can determine the limit, or use M-Pesa Global. And M-Pesa Global is very simple, by the way. You just need to activate it on the M-Pesa app. It gives you a credit card number. It gives you an expiry date. It gives you that 3-digit number and you can do transactions. Once you're done with it, you disable. I don't know whether, wacha nione kama hapa itaitikia.
Wait, but you need to remove on a monthly basis, like for Spotify it's monthly, for Netflix it's monthly.
See, they'll send you a prompt that they're trying to do a transaction. You enable for that particular time.
Or for that.
Yes.
Okay. Also, it's not automated, you still have to do it.
You can automate it. I don't know whether this is a... I wanted to show you. Acha niwaoneshe. Yeah, there. Siwezi waonesha hiyo number. So, when is it I can unsuspend the card. Once I unsuspend the card, it will show me the number and which I can use for that particular transaction. Once I'm done, I suspend the card again. It's on your M-Pesa app. Yeah. Tuko pamoja? At least hapo nimewachanua kidogo. But it is a fantastic tool, guys. You don't know. Hata watu wa iPhone hiyo inafanya. Okay, I think I need to go a bit faster because of time. Sorry. I think this we've discussed. I want to rush through this internet addiction space. And the reason I want to talk about internet addiction is because this is something that crops up on all of us. I'll give you an example. You have gone for dinner with your father or your mother. Do you know we spend so much time on the phone instead of interacting with the person who has even called to buy you lunch? You may need a lunch, but I'm always on my phone. That's a sign of internet addiction. Now, your children are also watching you. You have modeled negative behavior by spending a lot of time on your phone, even when you get into the house. Note to self, yeah? I don't know whether it was Zoga at one point where you said, you asked the children what it is that they are unhappy with their parents. They said they spend too much time, was it you? They spend too much time on their phones. And it was here in church. One thing that our kids are complaining about us, I wish my dad or mom would spend less time on his phone. I wish my dad or mom could spend more time with me. All right? Now, that child grows in an environment where the father, mother, myself, spending too much time on the internet. Because the internet allows me to enter into something called a nothing box. I forget about my responsibilities. I talk to people on the other side that I don't know about. I call them all manner of names without consequences. I mean, that's a good life. Escapism, you know? So, kids learn by example, and they are seeing that. And so, that is what internet addiction really is. It affects your schoolwork, social skills, your excessive social media, online gaming. I don't know whether people have kids who play a lot of games on the phone, you know? And games are usually actually a door to a lot of negative influences. There's something called gamification that I'll talk about. So our addiction, as I was saying the other time, was TV addiction. And TV used to start at 4, and we needed to be asleep by 9. The consequences, if I were to compare with now, are quite diverse. TV addiction was limited to a space, and remember the TV used to be put in the sitting room. Your father could walk in on you at any time. So you had to, in our house, there used to be a watchman. Mzee anakama. Munaeka, that time family TV ilikuwa imeanza. Mzee. We put family TV, you know, because now a lot of like music, there used to be You can, of course, tell my generation. There used to be Rastarat, there used to be Jamadelics, Channel, you know those things, yeah? So, of course, you don't want your parents to find you watching those. So when you hear mzee amekam, muneka family TV, but of course, he used to know these guys wananibeba sijui aje. So, but even music videos then and music videos nowadays, you don't even want to imagine. There's absolute nudity. Not as in nude, these people are naked. And it is being shown at 3 p.m. during the day. At least then, content used to come, that kind of content used to come a bit later. How parents unknowingly facilitate, how parents unknowingly facilitate internet addiction using technology as a reward. We are all guilty of that as parents. And sometimes we do it because we do not know the consequences. And also, hata mimi nimechoka kwenye nimetoka, honestly. And know when you enter the house, Daddy, you know, you also need to decompress. So what is the easiest thing to do? Jibambe. And we use it as a reward, or if they have done something good, use that as a reward. I'll talk about how we can, allowing unrestricted access. To me, and I'm not judging anyone, I think this is not a responsible parenting technique, allowing unrestricted access. Whether you have knowledge or don't have knowledge, this is just not acceptable. That your child has access to the internet throughout the day, even at 19. Unrestricted access is kwao, in their homes. You have to regulate internet in your house, if you know how or if you can. Encouraging solitary screen time. If I use with a TV there was no solitary screen time. So solitary screen time, what happens is that you have bought computers and all those things and you allow your children to use them in their bedrooms. I discourage that. Let the computer or laptop be in a public place. Use that laptop in the living room or in the dining room or where people are. Discourage use of computers in the bedrooms. Ignoring warning signs because maybe you don't know. And even for me, I'd say, if I was not actively involved in this research, I'd not know. I've never parented a teenager before. I learn by what happens to me. I don't have experience. So I might see something and say, huyu anakuwa tu a teenager. Or I remember my own experiences. Times are different. And then, of course, modeling excessive technology use. As a parent, I keep spending a lot of time on my phone, and my children are monkey see, monkey do. Why do you expect them to be different? Okay? So internet addiction and escapism, this is what I was talking about. Some of the reasons why I spend a lot of time on the internet, because I'm able to have instant gratification by the things that I see on Instagram. By the way, have you ever realized when you go into Instagram, or let me say TikTok, unaweza sema nataka tu kuona 5 minutes. Hey, TikTok is so interesting with useless content. I mean, it just sucks you in video after next, so interesting. Now, if you as an adult who's spirit-filled, intercessor, struggle with that. Imagine a 14-year-old child. I mean, it's really difficult for them. Then there's anonymity, and anonymity comes when you're able to cyberbully. When I used to be a cyberbully, it is because I had a pseudonym that had 400,000 followers. Imagine. So I could say all manner of things without consequences. I'm telling you, I was so good at it, I was hired by a political party. You know. So, but it's a place where I used to escape. Nani amenibo leo X, wacha nitukane Y. And I see how they're, I mean, it's because of their anonymity, false social connections. You see, we make a mistake of thinking that our friends on social media are the same friends like us. have you ever noticed sometimes that someone who's your friend on social media, who comments on your things, when you meet in town, you have no content? Unakuanga tu social Facebook ni nusu ya kuonana, very shallow conversations, but yet on Facebook they are always liking your pictures and stuff like that. So it can create a false sense of a social connection, which is not true. Then the internet provides a sense of control over one's environment, and so you're able to create a false environment of what it really is. And when you go into life, you realize the reality and what social media has crafted your mind to think is reality is very different. I think the other part I want to talk about is desensitization. I don't want to spend a lot of time here. Desensitization is where you're exposed to a lot of stimuli and you become less responsive and sensitive to particular things because of prolonged exposure. The things that are at the top of my mind is the LGBTQ. Our kids have been exposed to these LGBTQ things from the videos they've watched from when they are very young. Us maybe not. And by the way, our generation is very intolerant to that stuff, yeah? But you'll notice Generation Y is a bit more tolerant. Unajua, mimi, Borako, akuji kwa line yangu, I mean, azikuja kwa line ya mtu yoyote. That is the stand that you guys here have. We don't care. I don't want my child to go to a school that even encourages what content, all that. But them, they are a bit more intolerant. They are more tolerant to that, and it's because they've been exposed to it through cartoons. Guys, let me tell you. You see normal cartoons that your kids watch, and you don't know. Cocomelon, Peppa Pig, Teddy, wanaitangwa Teletubbies. They have gay characters. And you need to have, let me now be spiritual. You need to have a spiritual eye to be able to identify some of these things. Because for you, as an adult, are not able to even be, that thing is not attractive to you. So you're very passive in how it is, it's come and go. But for a child, there's some things they'll see and they pick. And let me tell you how they hide some of this content. Even how those cartoon characters dress. Why would a male cartoon character have skin tights? Unajua skin tight? Ile watu wanavanga wakienda gym. But he's in that, you know that's abnormal dressing by the way for a dude. You cannot not normalize that. Umevaa skin, you know those very tight kind of, I don't know, you can't normalize that. You get it, yeah? So that is, the cartoon characters are, oh, there's another one even. I don't know whether kids still watch this one that has a big bird. Sesame Street. Yeah, those ones. They all have gay kind of things when they teach a lot of positive things, but in the midst of all that, they sneak in something that will be a hook to your child. And it's not only on even the gay thing. It's on a number of worldviews that they want your child to have. I've explained what it is. The internet can desensitize young people to various negative behaviors and messages such as violence, pornography, cyberbullying, hate speech, and homosexuality. So, exposure to violent content, proliferation of pornographic content, cyberbullying, hate speech, and oversharing and desensitization to privacy concerns. Now let me explain about the last point. Now this is when I was talking about nudes. I don't think that someone who was born before 1990 who can send nudes. I don't know. I've not had. Before 1990, it's hard. These people who are sharing nudes willingly and easily, I've said I've not had. I've not said it doesn't happen. I've not had. These guys who are sharing nudes easily tend to be this generation of year 2000 kukuja juu. And it is because music videos that were around their time had started showing more skin. Unaona? So you've seen it for so much time. So you could show, let me say till here the knee, then it's continued coming up. So for you, what is normal, you can show from, it's an example, not example. So it is okay now to show till here. And 10 years ago, you could not show below. You understand how it happens? So there's a lot of issue of sharing nudity online. I don't know whether you guys have had your parents, your kids' friends who have experienced something like that. It's a thing that is there, and it's actually a big problem. In fact, there's a research that has been done about that problem in this country. How do kids and people get into these things? The deceptive technologies on the internet that draw us and our children into this world. Yes. And I'll say this with authority because I used to design these deceptive technologies, especially when I used to work for a political party. I used to be the guy, and I know how it's done. And for me, it was mostly based on the things that I want people who see my content to think in a certain way. But now, that one is even organic. Now there's inorganic ways that it's done by social marketers, by marketing companies, by betting companies, guys who do fake news, And these things are designed to exploit cognitive biases, emotional triggers, and social norms to influence people's decisions, actions, or beliefs. Examples of deceptive technologies is clickbait, headlines. Have you ever seen a headline that is so attractive when you click on it, there's nothing? But what do they want? They want to advertise things that are inside there. Personalized advertising, social media, algorithms, and fake news. Algorithms, as I said, they look at your behaviors, then they advertise and show you content that is relevant to you and promotes your bias. Social media, is it leftist or rightist? So the owners of social media will support things that we would tend not to. Gayism, abortion, for them is, and I'm saying things that the Christians would tend to be opposed to. So there is gayism, there is abortion, and those kind of things. Social media algorithms, targeted advertising, gamifications is where you see a game on your phone, your child sees it and clicks on it thinking that it's a genuine link, but then eventually they find out that it's a game that makes a child have suicidal thoughts. There was one called Roblox. There's somewhere, I think, towards the end that it has a very negative kind of effect on a child. Any questions so far? Any questions? I want to go to the last practical session. No question? Okay. So, the other practical session I'll show you is use of parental control software. Parental control software is software that you install in your children's devices and gadgets that will do the following: content filtering, time management, control of applications, monitoring their activities online, social media, YouTube, location tracking, and location tracking. So it is important for us to have this tool. And the reason why I'm talking about parental control software, there's a parental control that I showed you earlier on, but that one has loopholes. As you've seen, your son is 7 years old and he's already been able to maneuver. But now this one is a bit more difficult because the guys who produce this software, this is their business. And so they take care of more loopholes than the free one. But that doesn't still mean it cannot be maneuvered. And so when you're deploying some of these technologies, as I advise my clients in the IT security space, do it as a stack. Ukipita hii gate, you find another one. Ukipita hii gate, you find another one. Ukipita zote, sasa tukuongeleshe. You know, we tell you now, this is too much. I'll give you examples and you can write these ones down. There's QU Studio. That is one of the softwares for parental control. QU Studio, so it's QUSTODIO. That's a good one, a very good one. However, it is expensive. Then there's another one called Not On Family. Not On Family is affordable because it's 5,000 bob a year and you can control up to 5 kids. Okay, so if you can afford to pay Zuku, you can afford to pay Not On Family. And I'll use an analogy. When you take your child to, let's say like the national park, and you leave them gate ya Langata, and ask them to walk to the other gate in Rongai without any assistance, do you think they'll make it on the other side? It's not possible. Simba Marara will lead that child, or Ata Fisi. Let's not even talk about Simba Marara, Fisi. And that's how the internet is. You must use these tools to hold the child, the hand of your child, to navigate this jungle. There is Not On Family, good, best value for money, does the same things, affordable. There is Net Nanny. There's Net Nanny, N-E-T. This one offers very advanced filtering options, but it's also on the expensive side. There's Kaspersky Safe Kids, it's affordable, but this one, people have been able to go around it. Some of the clients that I do this work for. There's another one I don't have experience with, it's called Circle Home Plus. So it's a combination of hardware and software that offers content filtering, time management, usage tracking. However, this product is not available in this country. So for me, when I'm combining hardware, and I don't know, I forgot to come, I have a firewall that is the size of this phone. I forgot to come with it, but I'll tell you what it is. Then there's another one called Back, focused on monitoring your child's online activity. This one that maybe doesn't really restrict and all that, but it will tell you the space that your child is in reference to the online activity. I want to show you about Not On Family. Then I think, so Not On Family. Any question?
So the combination of Not On Family and Not On Family,
it can work. Yeah, as you can use that as a stack, and also you can use a small firewall, which I will show you a picture. Can I remember this? Sorry. Hii wanafanyanga kwa sababu sasa kuna kuanga na bots. There are bots on the internet that just log in and create accounts. So you see, you have to interact, your eyes have to interact with what is there for it to confirm that you're not a robot. Yeah, that's why. So now, this went off. So this is Not On Family. Now, if you look at some of the features that this has, they're a bit similar to Microsoft and Family Link. However, this one has more features and it's more difficult to bypass. Now, my child called Koi, I'll get all manner of notifications on what they try to do. You remember I tried to open Facebook at some point. So this is there, and this is the name of the computer. So you can attach the computer, you can attach the phone to this, all their gadgets, and you're able to get a report on. So Koi has reached their curfew and their device has been locked. So when their time reaches, it just blocks and they can't do anything until I, as a parent, open for them on my gadget. Now, the advantage of these tools is that I don't need to be physically with my child. I can do this even if I'm in another country. Okay? So, and I can add up to 5 children. I'm able to see the time. I can see the categories of websites they've been going. I am able to see the videos that and it will give me a list, and I can block them, or I can block particular channels directly from here. I have not activated social media monitoring on this because I need to pay for the next package. I can be able to block apps. So if I don't want my child to use Microsoft, the browser, I'm able to block all those things here. For me to be able now to show you a bit of what this can do, we need to spend a little bit more time. But I just need to tell you that there are also idiot-proof solutions. What do I mean by idiot-proof? And that's how they're manufactured, that anyone who has some little knowledge of interacting with a device, even as a parent, can be able to follow a wizard and make this work. And now this works on iOS, this works on Windows, this works on mobile phone. And by the way, when it comes to knowing where your child is, that is very important. Yeah? If there's one thing a child is not able to leave is their phone. Even let's say when they're 16, you need to know where they are. Because there's a likelihood they'll not tell you where they really are. So at least you need to know where they are. And these tools will help you, and you'll know whether they're in a safe space. One incident that happened in our estate, someone says they've gone to do a sleepover somewhere, a 16-year-old girl, and they went for a party. They had an accident on Thika Road. She didn't pass away, but she had those were permanent consequences because she became paralyzed. If only the parent had known, this child is not where they have said they are. I'm going to get her wherever she is. You know, some things that can just, decisions that can alter courses of history. School time, as I'm saying, you can interact with this. These are self-explanatory tools, and they make it easier for you. Okay, I think I have just 2 more minutes and I'll be done. Sorry. Okay. Yes. So what happens, remember, the difference between these tools and a firewall is that a firewall applies rules to any gadget that comes into that environment. Any. So even if they come with gadgets that belong to their friends, to my home, there are restrictions that I'll have put regardless of whatever device they have. Now, provided they're using my Wi-Fi, and I'm also able to get history of what they are doing. These tools are specific to the devices that you have installed. So if the guy comes with another phone from elsewhere, then hapo amekupiga chenga. Yes, firewalls are not cheap because a basic firewall for a home. Okay, let's put it this way. There are routers right nowadays that are around 20,000 that come with parental control pre-installed. But that's not a firewall. So it is limited in what really it can do. And then you can even install something called a VPN, which encrypts traffic. So it will just pass through that. And our kids are smart. So what a firewall does, you prevent even a VPN from running in your environment, even if they install it. Yeah, so a firewall that would work in a home setup will cost you around 45,000 shillings currently. No, that's the ones that you see for home. You don't want someone who's someone who does recurrent. You don't want to be paying 45k every year. For a corporation, firewalls license, we sell them for even up to 2 million bob, and that's every year. Yeah, but for a home, of course, you can't spend that amount of money. So you buy a one, of course, you can buy firewalls that have open source software pre-installed, and you can manage them from your phone. Like for instance, I want to show you, okay, I can't show you because that's client information, but I would have shown you the interface of how a firewall looks, so you can be able to see everything that happens on your network. Another question before I finish? Additional areas which I want to ask you to do some research is about sexting, and online privacy. I don't know, do I need to explain? Sexting is a growing concern in Kenya, particularly among teenagers and young adults. It refers to the act of sending sexually explicit sexually explicit messages, photos via electronic devices and smartphones. It is a very common thing nowadays. As a parent, you need to ask yourself what you can do. And I think what you can do is listed here, and it's just a repetition of what I've been saying. Set clear rules and boundaries, educate children about online safety, monitor your children, encourage open communication, model responsible online behavior by making them become good digital citizens, and staying informed about online trends and issues. Even if you bury your head in the sand, this issue will crop up in your home. You must stay ahead of your children as much as possible. You can't ignore this particular aspect about the world that you are living in. So parenting in the digital age, as said, these are the things that we need to have. Parental software, content filters and firewalls, and creating and enforcing use of supervised content. All right. I have more to say, but I think I want to stop it at that point.
Was it worth your time? Did you learn? I keep saying this, and you've heard me say it, and I'll say it again. I deal with families, and I deal with men and even women these days who clicked on something when they were young, and they went into a web of things that they have been unable to break. And so this is good, because it helps us to be aware of the things that our children are confronted with. And by the way, on a daily basis. The devil, your enemy, remember this, your enemy, the devil, is prowling like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. I pray that that will not be your child. I pray that that will not be your child. But the one thing I must leave us with is this. Ultimately, God protects our children. It is God who will protect our children. You can be a very good parent and put all these measures in place, but you are not omnipresent. God is. And I want to challenge you, because you can do these things at home, you can put these safety measures at home, but there are so many enemies out there. Before your child leaves home every day, just lay your hand on them and bless them, and speak a word of protection, of God's protection over them, that wherever they go, they will be safe. Asanteni sana. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sparing your time this morning. You have the booklet, and the booklet has really, the flyer has really summarized everything Jogona has spoken about. But we'll also send these notes. His notes, he's agreed that we can send his notes out to our WhatsApp community. We'll do that in the course of the day. Yeah. And now may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love